Welcome to Season 5 of the Excel Still More podcast. I'm still your host, Chris Emerson, and I'm here to encourage you in your walk with the Lord, and I'm glad you've joined. The program continues to be sponsored by Cunningham Financial Group. John is a good friend, and he's helped me and my family in everything from stock and mutual fund investing to annuities, life insurance, and retirement planning. I certainly commend him to you. If you have needs in any of those areas, you can reach him at 205-326-7364. Thank you again for your ongoing encouragement and support. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back and Merry Christmas. Launch day for today's episode is December the 25th. I'm sure you are enjoying a wonderful day with your family as I am mine. And so I especially want to thank you for taking some time to listen today. Maybe you can already tell from the title, but today's episode will be a little bit different than usual. A few weeks ago, I was interviewed by Kenny Embry for his podcast, Balancing the Christian Life, on the topic of minimizing daily stress. We both just enjoyed that so much, and I felt like it came together in a valuable way, and I asked his permission to release it here for you. It's a little longer than usual, but maybe if you're commuting between families' houses or something, it can fit right in. Next week, we will kick off Season 6 of this program. I've already got some things coming together I cannot wait to share with you that I think will kind of dominate the first couple of months worth of episodes. And of course, we will trickle in the back half of the House Rules series. But in the meantime, I wish you a happy holidays and safety for you and your loved ones. And I hope that you enjoy this very honest and sometimes a little personal and raw conversation between Kenny and me.
How you doing, Emerson?
Hey, Kenny, I'm doing great, man. Good to be with you, dude.
It's always good to be with you. You understand that I've been. It's been a little bit messy around my house lately, and you were one of the people that reached out and say, "All right, Embry, what's up?" And one of the things that I appreciated about that was you not only asked the question, but you stuck around long enough to figure out what the answer was. And the answer is complicated, but not that complicated. It's just got a lot going on. So one of the things that I knew, you said, let me, I can't remember exactly the way you said this, but it was something along the lines of, you said something about, how can I help? I said, you want to talk on the podcast? And you said, yeah, I'd do that. You're one of those guys that has a philosophy of avoiding stress that, quite frankly, I've always admired. Explain what your philosophy towards stress is and how do you make it work?
Man, well, again, it's great to be with you. We both had our battles intermixed in with our victories this calendar year. And I think that
Yeah.
You're somebody I feel comfortable sharing with and connecting with. And I hope that some of what we share today can help people outside of the two of us. But if each of us come out a little bit stronger and more courageous and more at peace, then I'll really value the time. But I think we will be busy. We're going to talk about that today. I mean, life is trying to fill up with things all the time, but there are some things we can do to space that out and sequence it. And those are two words I want to begin with: sequencing and spacing. If we get those two things right, particularly in day-type increments, I mean, I look at each day as its own kind of lifetime. You know, you wake up with energy, you explore, you do things, you invest things, you run out of energy at the end of the day and the lights go out. And so each day for me has this sense of, how do I sequence it well and how do I space it well? If tomorrow represented a lifetime, what would I want in it?
Mm-hmm.
What would matter most? If I ask you to just sort of like diagram your lifetime, what do you want most of it to be about? Where do you want the focus to be? Well, do your best to put that into a day, like your best. I get it. Work weeks are hard sometimes and weekends are frantic. So a couple thoughts, sequencing and spacing. If I ask you, what are elements of your day that help you alleviate stress? You're like, boy, a little Bible read really helps me alleviate stress, or journaling a couple of thoughts, or having coffee with my spouse, or going on a little walk. Get that stuff in. Sequence that stuff in. We're going to talk in a little bit about how to cut out other things. But, for me, I go, okay, in the morning to start the sequence, I have to have a half an hour. I have to have a half an hour to 60 minutes to pray, to read, to write, to have coffee with my spouse. That is crucial. I have to get up as early as I need to get up to start the day with that. So sequencing is really important. At the end of the day, we go for a walk, we debrief, and it sort of caps the day. So a couple thoughts. One is sequence each day in a way that fits in the stuff that you know you need. But the second thing is spacing. It may just be too much, right? Chris, I can't do that. I'd love to do that, but I've got this and this and that. I'm going to tell you right now that the secret to a stress-free life is not the outside things vying for your attention. It's how many of them you give your attention to. You have got to be more minimalistic in how much you pack into a single day or week. I don't like to think beyond day or week. I mean, today I can space things out and you go, well, I got too much. Well, then move it to the next day or move it to the next week. And when I look at the cadence of a whole week, a Sunday through a Saturday, I want to accomplish a frog every day. I want to address a spiritual highlight every day, but I can't eat like 1,000 frogs. So part of what I would advise people to do is go, hey, there are going to be stressful things. Life's going to be hard. But if I sequence in start to finish each day, things I know I need, and I work on creating gaps and spaces between stressful things, I can rest between those spaces. Yeah. I can work in something crazy urgent that I'm like, okay, I had an hour here that I'd spaced out. I know each person's situation is different. Summer and I were talking this morning about how I have to be careful with that. You know, some people go to the office all day and it changes the dynamic, but don't let that be an excuse for poor sequencing and slamming so many things together that there's no spacing. Those are two crucial elements.
One of the things you're kind of talking about, that idea of sequencing, you're talking about a lot of stuff that's under your control. And one of the things that I think a lot about, I can come up with a schedule that works. The problem is the problem that comes in through the door in the next 10 minutes, and then everything that I had planned suddenly finds its way on the floor, and my plans end up being somebody else's emergency. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
How do you deal with something like that?
Yeah. I'll give you an example. My son came home last night and the coolant's low or something on his car and it was going crazy and we got a mess on our hands, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have a fairly busy day today. I mean, I'm starting it with you, Kenny. That was my sequencing choice, to start it with you and then later have a brunch with some guys, like a prayer meeting. I'm busy, but I spaced time between everything today. So between the brunch at Cracker Barrel and an email that I'm due to send out at 2:00, I've got about an hour and a half. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get some coolant and try that thing. Like, you have to create space. And this is why I love to journal in the morning and lay out my schedule. Go, here's what I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
And if there's something that doesn't fit or squeezes too tight, I'm going to move it to another day. So that those emergencies, there's just got to be some space for them. And part of this, making some serious cuts on your schedule, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I'm not as worried about that because I don't have to cut something valuable to get to it.
I think one of my big problems is, like, for example, you talk about your son's having car problems. My son had car problems as well. And it ended up being a blown head gasket. And I didn't know that at the moment, but suddenly, you sitting there, and as soon as I found out something's wrong with the car, which happens on a Friday night, when all the garages are empty and closed, they will not be open again until Monday. Friday night, because you need that car, but you're going to have to replace that car with a rental, and all the rental car agencies are closed. Friday night, and all of a sudden, one of the things that I'm sitting there thinking is, there are about a dozen phone calls that are going to have to happen within the next hour. And my problem is, I love my son, but I don't think I can trust my son with any of those phone calls. So, I think there's a danger in tell me where the problem here is, Chris. Because I think one of the things that happens to me is, I think I'm the only one that can do all this stuff. And because I worry about handing this off to my wife, because my wife doesn't even like to pump her own gas, much less talk to somebody on the phone about a car rental. Yeah. And Do you sympathize where I am? Do you understand what's going on? And what kind of advice would you give somebody like me who just feels like all the levers of life basically fall on my dashboard, but nobody else has those levers either? You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're terrifying me. I may have a blown head gasket now. I don't know yet. You're maybe telling me about what my next 2 days is going to be like with my kid. I do feel that, and I guess I don't know. I remember us talking about it, but I was thinking this week, like, what if I just don't fix that car for a week? What if I don't make any of those phone calls? I just don't do it. I don't call them. It's Thanksgiving week. There's a lot going on. And so we just sort of carpool a little bit, or we even take something we were scheduled to do and say, can't do it. That like, I think a listener would be like, that's crazy that you could have something on the calendar and go, you know what, our car's kind of having trouble and I don't really want to worry about it the next couple of days. So I'm just not going to be able to make that meeting. Like, we go, what? Because we have this sense that says we have to do everything. We have to fit everything in. And so we have to urgently get everything reset right now and go, no, what if we just don't? What if he just doesn't go I don't know if he's got to work tomorrow, whatever, but we just go, you know what? He's going to need to take a day off work. Like, for us to do less is this sign of, failure. I think if we did less, we'd all be happier. I think if we worked, I don't mean laziness, I mean smarter, not harder, and we space things out. So, that's kind of been my thing today. I prayed about this morning. I'm like, Lord, I don't care what's going on with the car. Just help me to just get to it when I need to get to it, and if I can't fit it in between Kenny Embry and Cracker Barrel, maybe just look at it tomorrow, Well, what's that going to mean for stuff you guys have going on this week? Well, yeah, I don't know. I'll drop him off, or he's driving my car right now because his car driver's side door won't open, and you have to climb in through the passenger door. It's my 2006 Tundra, and I think it embarrasses him a little. I have no problem with it. I went to my other son's basketball game last night. I crawled out through the passenger door. I look like some Spider-Man wannabe, in his 40s, but I just don't think things are as urgent as we think they are. And so I look at stressful situations as an opportunity to explore that maybe it's not as crucial as I thought, and just wait.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. You reminded me of my car that I had while I was in college. It was a Pontiac 6000, and I counted it. I put 37 repairs on that car. But just like the car you're describing there, the passenger side door. The driver's side door would not open. It would fall off. It had already rotted through the hinges, so you couldn't open it because the door would fall off. The lock, you had to open the window to open the car door because the latch on the inside was broken. So you had to open it from the outside. I tell you what, it had one windshield wiper that worked. And the very last straw, Emerson, I was driving home Wednesday night from church, and the steering wheel came off in my lap.
Okay.
And it wasn't popped off. The entire the entire steering column fell in my lap.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bad.
It was not a good car. I say all that to say, I don't know the difference between the person I've become now, because for some reason, the person that was in college felt like they could probably put off a lot of those things. And he did.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that became a car that I got rid of, that I probably should have gotten rid of sooner. But it seems like the older I get, the less well I do with stress. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and and I'm glad you brought up that story, because we're not talking about just ignoring things until your steering wheel comes off. I think it's a great story to cap another end of this, which is, we'll just keep driving the car, keep doing whatever, it'll all be fine. It probably won't. Atrophy is a reality of life, and if you don't address things, they get worse. But if everything isn't super crazy, crucial, and urgent, if everything doesn't have to be fixed right now to make you calm, then you can go back to sequencing and spacing, and you can do great. You can say, you know what, next Monday I'm going to work on that car. I got a big pocket there of a few hours next Monday, so I'm going to do that. That'll be a little inconvenient this week, but hey, we all need to ride together to church every once in a while anyway. you can go back to, okay, how do I sequence the day and not pack everything into it? How do I create ample space for rest, for reflection, for prayer, and not try to do it all? So we've tried to think like that. First of all, like Kenny, like our problems are not real problems for the most part. You go like this morning, Summer and I are like, wow, our life's really falling apart. Like our oven is tripping a sensor and we can't bake, and one door doesn't open on a car, and like the faucet in the kitchen keeps dripping, and we just kind of laugh about it, like, good. Like, we need some level of inconvenience where we go, you know what, we just need to get to that, we get to it, and not let it direct our thought, because we both know life has a lot more serious stuff in it, like really serious stuff, and we've got to face that serious stuff. And my thing is like, if you and I are getting stressed out and packing everything in on things that aren't really that serious, we're not even remotely prepared to handle real things like persecution or affliction or sickness, or
Yeah.
I just think that when little things are huge, big things are going to crush you. So maybe an attitude adjustment's helpful too, going, hey, you know what, I hope I get a little few stressful things that I have to space out this week. I don't want it to be easy. I want to have to be smart about it, because that's going to prepare me for later.
I think one of the things you're kind of backing into there, Emerson, is the idea of value clarification. In other words, what is really important and what's not important. And you're talking about maybe it's okay to miss a meeting or two. Maybe it's okay to miss, but what are your values? What are your values where something inside you is saying, no, you can't miss that meeting. No, that is something that is really important. Whatever's going on in that room, if you're not there, the world's going to fall apart. And I don't know. Can you speak to this? Why is it important to clarify our values? Do you see what I'm saying there?
I do. And again, I want to hit this button one more time. I mean, each day is like a lifetime. If you looked at your lifetime and you were at the end of your life, and I said, what got the most priority in your life? And if you could adjust it now, what would it look like? I mean, man, I've been preaching 22 years. I've had that conversation a bunch of times. I don't usually bring it up, but they bring it up. Here's what my life was about. And if I had it to do again now, this is what it would be. And it's always time with the kids, and it's always time with God. You know what the answers are.
Yeah.
And very rarely are they like, man, I missed that meeting and I really wish I'd have caught 5 more of those. Like, nobody says that. Now you have to, I get it. You have to keep employed and all that kind of stuff. But I've heard them say things like, I wish I'd have quit my job and just taken on another job with less stress. But at the time, here's my thing. If you think about that in a lifetime sequence, and then you get up on a Wednesday morning, like, make sure that the things you want featured in your life get attention today. And you're going to say, well, that's not possible because of everything. That's what I'm saying. Now it's time to get out the scissors. I'll get ahead of ourselves a little bit on this.
Okay.
You talk about, you submitted to me some questions and kind of like some real secrets to getting some of this done. And I think it's open hands early and then grab the scissors. All right. So let me explain this. Open hands early and then grab the scissors. Open hands early is you get up early enough where you can open your hands to the Lord, figuratively speaking.
Okay.
Or literally. But you open your hands to the Lord and you just pray and you read and you express what you're grateful for. Do not interact with another human being until you have found a reason to be grateful and thankful and at peace. Do not leave your house to go anywhere until you have communed with the Lord. Like, this to me is non-negotiable. I will not negotiate with you about this. You go, well, I can't. I got stuff in the morning. Go to bed earlier. You have got to find your level 3 gratitude. You got to pick something. So open hands to start, because you're going to need those hands today. They may hold a wrench. They may hold a baby. They may hold your whole family in your arms. You're going to need those hands. You got to open them to God. And then you may need to go grab the scissors. I'm interested I don't know if I've talked to you about this, Kenny, but I'm interested to see how this hits you. But I get phone calls from preachers, younger guys, stressed out. Life's hard. There's a lot going on. The work, my family, my studies, all these things.
Yeah.
And I tell them to go get a piece of paper. So I want you to go get a piece of paper and draw 2 lines across it where it breaks into 3 sections, like a Napoleon bar, like 3 sections.
Mm-hmm.
And this just pertains to their work, but I'm telling you, this may have limitless, hopefully more applications. At the top, I want you to write the crucial parts of your work, the absolute non-negotiable parts, the parts that matter the most, non-negotiable. They're either the most important thing to you or they're the most important thing, period. So they write them out. Write out what is crucial. In the middle section, I want you to write the stuff that's really important. It's not crucial. It's not life or death. It's not like the Sunday morning sermon. I mean, you have to have
Right.
that. Like but it's maybe things like the bulletin or something. And write those there. And then at the bottom, I want you to write all of the other stuff you do. I don't call it anything like optional. That would be sort of nominalizing it too much. I just made up that word. But like the stuff that's left. Now, I want you to look at the list and make sure you feel pretty good about it. Here's my week. I like to do it in a cadence of a week in this project because you got to mix in weekends and weekdays.
Yeah.
All right. So crucial at the top, important in the middle, everything else. Now, next step, take out the scissors and cut the bottom third off and throw it in the garbage. It's gone.
Right.
It is out of your life. You can bring it back later, but you called me because you're stressed out. Okay. They're like, "Ooh, I can't do that." You called me because you're stressed out, because your sequencing is poor and your life is too packed. Cut the bottom. Secondly, take a pen and mark out half of the stuff in the middle. Half of it. Just draw a line through it. Say bye to it. Pray it out if you need to. Now you're ready for your coming week. Your next week will have attention devoted to the crucial and the half that was actually important. The rest of it, now in life, in preaching, I think you can just go with that. But I think we've proven that a couple of times. But in life, there may be some mourning period, some work, to get that stuff out. But the bottom third's got to go. It just has to disappear. Work it out. The middle, you work it out, and what you're going to have is twice your attention devoted to half the stuff. So you're going to give all of that attention to spacing out, maximizing, and improving all of those super crucial things. There's all kinds of research that says you're going to get that promotion that you thought that doing 100 things is going to get you. Doing 50 things awesome is going to get you farther than trying to do 100 things.
Mm-hmm.
This is true of every single part of your life. And so I know that's hard, but it would be a great experiment for people who are like, I've tried everything. Well, I bet you haven't tried the scissors yet. And if you do, it's going to be uncomfortable and hard because we almost are. We almost consider busy to be a compliment. I consider busy to be an insult. Somebody goes, "Chris, you're so busy." I'm like, "Hey, you might as well just call me ugly." Like I'm insulted by that. I want to work smarter, not harder, by spacing, filtering, sequencing, and then giving those things all of my heart. So you know what? That's my recommendation for people, practically speaking.
You probably don't have this problem, but I do, which is I often worry about things. And I know. I've listened to enough sermons that tell me that God tells us not to worry. And so I know I shouldn't worry, but that doesn't stop me from doing it, Chris. The thing about it is, we all know that this is one of those things that we shouldn't do, and yet I would be willing to bet we all do it. Should we feel guilty about feeling guilty?
Well, you have to look at it in a couple ways, right, Kenny? I mean, the idea that I'm going to have concerns for my family or concerns for the future of our country or uneasiness about that. I'm going to need to do some planning. I can't just go willy-nilly on things. I have to worry about it. That's all fine because it's unavoidable. That's life. I mean, life has concerns and responsibility, and being responsible means having to kind of have your radar up for what could happen. I do not think the Bible speaks against that. Those are important parts of life. But then Jesus comes in Matthew 6, and 3 times in the New American Standard Version says, "Do not worry." He didn't stutter. He didn't use complimentary language. He didn't come in the side door. He came in the front door, slammed it shut, said, "Do not worry." Do not worry about what? Anything. Don't worry about your life versus death. Don't worry about clothes versus nakedness, home versus living in a van down by the river. Don't worry about tomorrow. Like, I'm just drawing right out of the text in Matthew 6. But the question is, like, what's he talking about there? And I heard a guy named Phil Arnold. He passed away a handful of years ago, a preacher in Oklahoma, do a sermon on this 25 years ago. And he said, this word means a divided mind. It means I can't focus on what matters because these things have drawn all of my attention. That's the kind of worry and anxiety where there's all these things that are rich and matter. They matter to me. They matter to God. They give life great value. And I can't even think about that right now because there's a sensor tripped on my car or because of cancer. Like, I'm telling you, there are things in life that are very, very weighty. But he said, don't worry about that. And then he talked about the open hands, like focus on the goodness of God and the presence of God and the lilies of the field and the grass. So we have to get our minds focused on the right things. It's interesting. Phil Arnold went on to be diagnosed with terminal cancer and died within 6 months of me meeting him. And everybody who knew him reported the things he talked about, focused on, lived for, even up to his deathbed. Phil Arnold went out and lived a life that was able to face the most devastating of events in a way that, yeah, sure, he was concerned for his family, but in a way that didn't get pulled away from what mattered most, which is ministry and optimism and hope. And I've just really taken his story to heart. Really quickly, I preached on the parable of the sower the other day and how I think we get caught up in the middle soils all the time. Like, I'm worried too much. And, what if it costs me this? The point of the parable of the soils and the sower was to get everybody to be the good seed, but the good seed meant spreading the gospel. Like, this gets overlooked. We think the good seed is somebody who worries less. The good seed is somebody who's not materialistic. Look, the good seed isn't what you're not. The good seed is what you are. And what you are is someone who creates 30 Christians out of one because of the wind blows seed every direction, or the birds can grab from your tree and spread. And so to me, anxiety is when I'm so drawn in by these things that I'm off mission. People go, how do I know if I'm too worried? I go, if you're off mission, if you're not focused on spreading the good news, on sharing the light. In Mark 4, Jesus didn't stop with that parable. He told 3 more little parables about, like, spread the seed and shine the light and be optimistic. And so for me, if the objective is I'm going to listen to this podcast, I'm going to do what Chris and Kenny said so that I can worry less, then you've missed this.
Right.
God has a mission for your life. We want to eliminate those anxieties that are interfering with the mission. There are other anxieties you carry that aren't interfering with the mission. They're just, life's hard and you struggle with those things and they concern. That's fine. Keep it. Got to get rid of the stuff that's getting in the way of the mission.
Yeah, I mean, you basically went right back to values clarification, and really what you're talking about, the most important value is that idea of God's mission for your life. In other words, being the person that God wants you to be, and part of that is who you are. In other words, developing character, and part of that is what you do, and that's doing good works, and good defined not by you but by God. And I think that's both of those are challenges. I'm trying to develop character. I just know I have a really bad one. So I mean, the thing about it is, when we deal with getting on mission, I think it's important, and you've kind of talked about this. It's important to define a vision. That again, I think one of the problems with the cars breaking down and the things going on at work that should not be, and suddenly somebody else's problems falls on your plate, and you have to deal with the aftermath of somebody else's decisions, and that's never fun. It's never fair, but it happens a lot. And one of the things that you're talking about there is developing a mission or a vision for what God would have you do in this scenario. And I think one of the things that you said was life is hard and it's just not going to get easier. But when you can see the things that don't really make that much difference one way or the other, you can usually, sometimes you can just put them aside, and sometimes you can't put them aside.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go through the yuck in order to get to what you need to get done.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you know this. You're a dad. 90% of parenting is doing stuff you didn't want to do at the beginning of the morning. There's a diaper that's waiting for you somewhere. There's a so. What advice do you have for us that are going to have to get through the yuck? So we get to the point where, and I think what you're going to say is sequencing and spacing, but how do we have the right attitude when we're having to wade through the yuck?
Yeah. Let's go this direction with it.
Okay.
A morning prayer. Father, thank you for the yuck. Thank you. Thank you for inconveniences. Thank you for difficulties. Thank you for Thank you for every, and I'm not going to get into theology here on did he send it? Did he allow it? I mean, we know God doesn't tempt to sin, and he's the source of all good things, but we also know about discipline and challenging and Job and all this.
Yeah.
Thank you for, like, some of this, Kenny, just, and this is what Jesus was doing in Matthew 6, just goes back to straight up faith. Lord, I have faith that you will not allow a burden that will crush me, and that every burden you allow has the potential to help me filter my life, like we've been talking about, get out the scissors. It helps me to learn more about who I am or what matters, or you're training me for something that's coming in the future that I can't see yet. We have to get to a point where we say, I don't even wish this stuff wasn't here. I want to figure out what to do with it. I want to figure out what it's trying to do to me. I think part of it is not giving everything the same urgency, like everything that makes you, we live in this really pampered society, right? Like we just want everything, we want to feel good all the time. We want everything to be fine all the time. And so any little ping to that feels to us like the heaviest burden. Like every problem is a 10 on the pain scale. Like that's how my 12-year-old is. I mean, a loose tooth and, an arm falling off would be equally devastating to him. Like everything is the worst,
Yeah.
And maybe God's going, man, like there's so much I want to do with you, but you've got to understand, like everything's not the worst. And some of this stuff, like your juggling skills are actually going to make you a great circus clown one day. Like I need to keep those in your hands. I need you to keep those. And you're like, yeah, but some of them are batons that have a fire on one end of them. He's like, I know, isn't that so cool? Like you're able to juggle like fire batons. Like, I think of Kenny, your life and mine is different in that you work in an education field where you are very much having to react to what happens with others and administrative stuff that's beyond your control. And preachers deal with that sometimes too, but not in the same kind of way. But, he's going, look, I'm going to hold back. He's like, you don't even understand how many problems you could have that I'm holding back from you. But I'm putting the batons out there because I just think that, I think if you'll learn that some of it you need and some of it's good for you and some, I don't know. I want an attitude of gratitude, thankfulness. I want to be able to tell God sincerely, thank you for my problems. And to me, it says, I trust that you're still in control, and maybe it'll get me to lean in on him more. So some of that's just morning attitude that I think I'm just telling you, don't interact with another human being. Don't get in the car and go anywhere until you've found some of that with the Lord. And then you go out and you see what happens.
So often the biggest stressors in our lives are not really problems, they're people. It's people that consistently make things go harder. They are often people that love to criticize you for what you are. They also love to impugn your motives. They love to And I say they love to. I think some people who end up being your harshest critics probably have good intentions, but don't have a very full picture. Let me ask you, how do you deal with your critics? How should we deal with critics?
You and I have talked going into this episode. So this, if it feels like it's out of left field to somebody who's listening, it's not, because of Kenny and my conversations. When I look back over the last 2 years of my life and I look at what has been the most constant disruptor of all that I've been trying to work on and that we talked about today, it is critics on the outside. I was not really prepared for the fact that starting a podcast and people hearing it and whatever that created, I wasn't prepared to get emails from people who really found it beneficial. That's the good part, that people were found it useful, and I don't think I really was ready for how that would make me feel. But I wasn't really ready for the critics. I didn't understand how people would be. I think that there are people who have reacted in these ways that are hyper judgmental and critical and twisting words and trying to marginalize me and all the stuff I don't really want to talk about today, but because I don't want to talk about them. I just it really caught me by surprise, and people I thought were friends and all kinds of weird stuff. So what do? Do I sit around and go, I wish they would stop, because some of them just aren't gonna. I don't know what's going on, but they've made determinations. Here's what I've got to do. That's my biggest stressor. I mean, yours is going to be something else. That's my biggest potential stressor in life. So I've got to go, okay, I don't like it. Some of it has not been easily fixable. Some of these guys, you call them and tell them the truth, and if it's something that they agree with, they just think you're lying. It's weird. It's like, I'm trying to agree with you. And if it's something you disagree with them by 2 degrees of separation, they make it sound like you're a Calvinist or something. Like, you can't fix those guys. Okay. So here's a problem that you can't just go out and fix. Right. So what do? You go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to wear this for a while, but here's what I can do. I can go, okay, God, how do I get to a point of thankfulness for some of this? How do I get to a point where I go, why do I need this? What is the value in it? And so I started asking questions like, okay, I got this emails from this guy. It sounds he's pretty angry. What can I learn? Because I got stuff to learn. And this unpleasant influence is going to help me learn something. So what can I learn? What can I change? I've tried to say every email I get, every phone call I get, everything I hear about somebody telling somebody about something else that gets around to me, it's like, okay, I probably did make a mistake here. How can this help me change the way I speak about things? Maybe theologically, there's something that I missed. What can I learn? And so I've tried to look at it as, okay, that's not something that's going to go away right now, but it is something, number one, that I can learn from. And number two, though, I've learned to marginalize a lot of that. Like at first, I get this email and it just crushes my whole week. Like, what? How did he think I meant that? What? Who's he going to tell? Am I going to get a meeting canceled? Like, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, because it's like when you first get diagnosed with something scary, you're just like, it's this heavy, heavy weight. And yet what I had to learn is, okay, first of all, what can I learn? And second of all, I can't let that be 100-pound weight crushing me on the head. I've got a very important life, day to live and priority. And so over time, those things, and I hate that it's this way, but when that outside stressor in your life is unrelenting, eventually it just starts to weigh less and less and less. And you're able to go, okay, here comes another, here's somebody who wrote something up and sent it to somebody and it got around to me. You know what? I think I'll take a peek at it. I think I'll learn what I can, because I always can learn something.
Yeah.
And I'll pray for those people. I have prayed for my critics to live to be 100, to have healthy, wonderful lives. Some of them are preachers. I pray that they keep preaching the truth and changing lives. And I pray that they continue to do what they're doing with me, if it's helping. And if it's not, Lord, just make their heart softer. Make my heart, but I never pray for them without praying for me. Like, make my heart softer too. So, that's my thing, and I don't want to talk all day about it. We put it in the back half of the episode where maybe people have already tuned out and gone on to do something else, but because I don't want to make it about that. But I just want everybody to know listening, like we all have that uncontrollable right now because it's an external force on us that is trying to kind of take that joy from us. I'm saying find a way to thank God for it. Find a way to use it, and then slowly but surely put it in its proper place where it belongs, which is not in the center of your face where you can't see anything else. But it's also don't throw it in the garbage. Like it's just place it over here in the little 5-pound category where it belongs. So that's where I'm getting practice right now in applying these principles.
I get student evaluations every year. They're supposed to be anonymous, but almost every professor can figure out who wrote what comment. And we don't have to look at handwriting. We just have to know what the comment is. We usually know the beef that our students have with us. So I mean, it's not hard. And I think one of the things that I've always appreciated are the students that will respond to me when I reach back out to them. I have you heard of something called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Revelation. I'm actually talking about John Gottman.
No.
John Gottman is a researcher, and basically he's somebody, and this is something that he came up with, that he says he can, with over 90% accuracy, predict who's going to get divorced within the next handful of years. And it's 4 things that you have to be trained to recognize these things in conversation. But once you do, once you recognize these things, these are the predictors of divorce. And they are contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And what you see with those 4 things, it is my opinion that stonewalling is the worst one. I think he says that contempt is the worst one. But the thing about it is criticism will often breed contempt. And contempt will often make you defensive. And defensiveness will eventually lead to stonewalling.
Yeah.
And when if you can stop being defensive, if you can stop, if at any point in this cycle you can break one of those, because criticism in every relationship has to happen.
Yeah.
Because no 2 of us are the same. And Emerson's looking at me right now. I'm wearing a beard. I don't care for the beard. I don't like it. But that said, my wife loves it. And so I'm happy to keep the beard, happy enough to keep the beard. But one of the things that I know is if I am too defensive about the beard, this doesn't work for me. And it doesn't work for her either at that point, because it's become a problem because I'm contemptuous of it. Which means it becomes the thing that we cannot talk about. When it comes to your critics, I think you're exactly right. You have to figure out whose opinion counts. I'm sure you've heard this before. Don't take criticism from somebody you would not take advice from. That it's and that's important. I'm sure you've also heard that often criticism comes from a place of hurt. It's somebody else is criticizing you because they're hurt, and I've seen that. I've watched that, but realized that my population is between the ages of 18 and 22, and they're always between the ages of 18 and 22, and there's just a lot going on at that age. But the other thing that I would say, and I think that's true, but if you can avoid these 4 things, if you can avoid being critical of the people who are criticizing you, if you can avoid being contemptuous of them, if you can avoid the defensiveness of it, and if you could just, if you can still maintain a dialogue with them, if they will have a dialogue with you.
That's great.
I think those, do you see what I'm saying there, Emerson?
Yeah, and it seems all built off that first thing. Contempt is a heart situation. It's a it's a bitterness or something there, and then all these outside things start happening. I do think that love is key. I think that the Bible is repeatedly trying to tell you to unconditionally love every person is made in God's image, and to feel hope for every person. And if your interaction with them is based on your love for them and not just something about yourself, then it'll change everything. And I've tried to work on that with the critic. I've tried to pray for them and connect with them and do some of those things. I make mistakes. I'm not sitting here going, they make all the mistakes. I make mistakes too. But wouldn't it be cool, Kenny, if you and I were two guys who really cared about each other, really loved each other? We're brothers. Like, let's just let's just pretend for a minute, Kenny,
Okay.
that we're both Christians who love each other and we vehemently disagree with each other on something. Well,
Yeah.
you know what I'm going to do is just write you up. No, I'm going to try to marginalize you. No, I'm going to call you and go, I love you, and I totally disagree with you. Let's see what we can do. Like, that's healthy. It's a little stressful, I guess, because nobody likes to be told they need to change, but it's a manageable kind of stress, isn't it? Because we know we care about each other. I said a couple times in a sermon a year or two ago that, you know, I'm not willing to sit down and be criticized or challenged or pushed by someone who I don't believe cares about me. And boy, that got people ran with that and said that's wrong. You got to be willing to accept criticism from everybody, and you got to, it's almost like they were admitting they don't care about me. But I think when somebody doesn't care, when there's no love, then again, they won't even believe you when you tell them the truth, or they'll take anything that they disagree with and turn it into something massive, and all that's very stressful. So part of it was going, I know I need to change and learn and grow. I need to give weight to people who care about me and want us to grow together, where their motives are, hey, let's get better and let's fix this instead of, something else. So having to wade through all that has been a challenge, but I think we got to get back. We got to get the contempt away. I mean, as long as there's something, if there's bitterness in our heart, we're doomed. Everything else is going to go. So I'm working on that. I'm going, Lord, don't take the problems away. Just change my heart, like tenderize my spirit towards anybody. And maybe that's what I need to learn, help me learn it.
We didn't talk very much about this, but just for a moment, what is burnout, and how do you avoid what burnout is?
Burnout is trying to do it all. Burnout is when you have no time to think, to rest, to reflect. So burnout becomes trying to do everything all the time and giving everything equal weight. And then you realize you don't have the whatever for that, the energy, the time, the faith. And this is where we go back to the beginning. We have to space out our lives, and that means assigning different values to what's important and what's less important. Maybe you got to get the scissors out. But when I looked at this question before we started today, I thought about our eldership. It seems to me historically that elders only get called in when there's a problem.
Yeah.
Like an elder's job is just dealing with messes. And I talked to our elders a year or two ago, and I said, guys, I just feel bad for you guys. Like, I get to, hang out with new converts, and I get to do all this cool, fun stuff. And then when there's a big problem, I just tell them to call you, And so you're handling only stressful things, and then elders burn out a lot, and they just and it's like from the inside out, their hearts are just burdened. And so we talked about, it doesn't mean that you necessarily need to do less, but, would you guys like to get in on some of these new convert studies or these prayer meetings that we're doing, like really great stuff? We're not saying do less work. We're saying do some of the more rewarding work. And it's neat to watch even our eldership grow and their spirits just really liven up with, we're still doing a lot during the week, but a lot of stuff we're doing brings a smile to our face instead of our work only being the stuff that's heavy and hard. That's how you burn out too. When the cadence of your week is just all the hardest stuff. It's kind of like parenting, one parent may get to be with the kids when they're doing all the fun stuff, and the other parent just has the paddle. Well, no, like it's going to ruin the whole thing. And so I don't know if that makes total sense, but I've been thinking through it. You may still have a lot going on during the week, but just burnout is when it all seems to be the worst, hardest stuff. And maybe we need to spread that a little bit, spread that around a little bit so that I took on a couple of the hard things for our elders so that they could take on a couple of the more fun, enjoyable things that I got to do. And I think it helped us all.
It reminds me of that passage in Matthew where they're criticizing Jesus because his disciples don't fast and all of that. And one of the things that he says is, can the wedding guests be sad while the groom is with them? The time will come when the groom will be taken away from them, and then they will fast. But the argument that he's making there, I think, and I don't really understand that passage probably as well as I need to, is there's a time to enjoy the success. There's a time to celebrate what you can celebrate, because there are times to suffer. But I think some people just get addicted to the suffering. They like, if things feel too good, then something's got to be wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think as some of us as Christians are worried if we, just like you're talking about, doing the stuff that's more rewarding, taking advantage of just doing stuff, not solely doing stuff, but enjoying something that's enjoyable.
Yeah.
You see, go ahead.
Yeah, and really making that an intentional thing. Each morning when I'm doing the journal, I have a Eat That Frog section where I write in it tends to be a couple a day that I don't really want to do, but it sure will help later in the week if I do it, and I've got space for it. And then I have a section called Daily Highlight where I write down, now these days I write down maybe 2 things that would just be awesome. Text this guy or go visit these people or, send this email or, whatever. Like every day it's something. Go to this brunch at Cracker Barrel today with these guys. Like,
yeah,
I want to put in the day, not just frogs. I don't ever want a day that's just a frog day. You know what? Today I just got to knock out 6. Really, I just got to eat 6 frogs today and choke them down, and that's gonna be it. That's my day.
Yeah.
No. I'll put one a day for the next 6 days, and if I can. And like we said about the car, sometimes you can. You don't think you can? Yeah, deal with it next week. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
And in the midst of it, put in things that are going to be on mission. Number one, which is the big secret, is you go, well, what do you mean? What's going to bring me joy? If you're a Christian, being on mission brings you joy.
Yeah.
So put in mission-oriented things to spread the seed and do that. And then you don't burn out because you get buoyancy from work that is rewarding and good.
What did I miss?
I don't know. I feel like we've talked about a lot. I know for you and me, because we know each other and we're friends. I mean, I feel like we're having a private conversation today that is benefiting us, and you are a big benefit to me. I just love talking to you, but it's almost weird to me today that there's going to be other people listening in on what we're talking about. It feels a little bit extra real today. So I hope that people see it that way. It's just, we're just 2 guys working through the same stuff everybody else is working through, and we need each other's encouragement. And I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying being with you, talking with you.
Me too. Let's see here. I can get real sappy and say I love you, which is absolutely true. But the thing about it is you know better than most that I've been just going through a lot right now, and there are things that I've had to let fall through the cracks, including the podcast. The podcast is one of the things that I've had to do less regularly because I had bigger fish to fry. And I think I'm about to the end of that, at the end of the fish to fry, not the end of the podcast. But I think I can see light at the end of the tunnel. And one of the things that happened was every so often I would get a text from somebody named Emerson who said something, how is it down there? What's going on? I appreciate you, Emerson, that you are willing to reach out and you recognize, and that's a big part of it, is just recognition. you recognize that something had to be wrong, and you asked about it, and then you shut up and listen. And that's something that I really appreciate. I will say this to anybody else who's listening to this. Do that exact same thing for other people. Because it's one thing, I'm not going to volunteer those things, but if somebody reaches out to me, yeah, I'll talk. And I think that's what God would have us do, is don't expect people to volunteer things that they're trying to handle. Part of your job as a Christian is to know when something's off kilter, is to know when something's not feeling right, is to know when that's not him. There's just something that's not, and just reach out. You see what I'm saying, Emerson? I know you know what I'm saying.
No, you're turning the attention in the right direction. I think it's beautifully said. I remember reading ages ago the top 10 things you can do to overcome discouragement. Somebody may be listening today thinking, I am discouraged. I'm stressed out. I'm going to try a few of these things, but there's just so much. Well, you may just have too much attention on yourself. And the top 10 ways to overcome discouragement, you're really going to want to write these down. So let me pause so you can get your pencil. Number 1, go do something for somebody else and then repeat that 9 times. If we can get the attention, and I don't mean find somebody who's worse off than you to make you feel better about yourself. That's still about you. I mean, genuinely look around your inner circle, which are the people you're most transparent with. And then you're kind of like your outer circle, or people you still care about and love, but it's the relationship's just a little bit different. And just be looking for an opportunity, because here's what's cool about it. And I say cool, it's not purpose behind it, but it's just cool that when you do something to help someone else, you're on mission, which immediately makes you happier. Mm-hmm. It immediately alleviates stress in your life. Like, being on mission is always going to make you feel better about your life. That can't be the purpose, but it's kind of like the heaping burning coals on their head. That can't be the purpose for doing something nice for someone, but
right.
But there are outcomes that God is working. So I love that you're saying that. Like, reach out today if you're going, man, I don't know where to start. Well, how about this? Just put down the pencil and the paper and the scissors and just go check on somebody, and watch what happens.
I end all my podcasts with be good and do good. What's good about dealing with stress?
Well, it makes us more like Jesus. I think Jesus had a lot going on, and he was so spiritually in tune with his Father that the more that went on, the more that shined through. And we serve him because of all that he bore. We celebrate that every week, how much that he bore, and he did so in faith, and he committed himself to the Lord as he was passing. And that's what's good in it, is we just become more like Jesus. Jesus dealt with disappointment. He dealt with knuckleheaded followers. In fact, every room he ever walked in was filled with knuckleheads. He was perfect. Everybody else wasn't. He dealt with critics. He dealt with terribly jealous and angry critics. He dealt with love for a whole nation that he was watching be torn apart. He dealt with a lot, and he did it with this beautiful connection to his Father and just trying to be a light in every room he was in. And like, the call here is not just, this is where I go back to the sowers. The call here isn't to just be a less thorny soil that worries less. The call here is to be good. To be good and do good. I can't believe I just said that. To be good and do good. 30-fold, 60-fold, 90-fold. To be like Jesus. The good news, you think about James 1, consider it all joy. What's the joy? I get to be a little bit more like Jesus. Focused on the right things and bringing about better results. And I want to get there. And the Bible says discipline is the way. And so maybe that changes my attitude about hard things.
Yeah.
When I see where it's designed to take me.
Yeah. And the beauty of those hard things is they create something in you that allows you to excel still more. So.
Stop it. Stop.
Emerson, we could do this for hours. And again, what you guys don't know is Emerson and I, we touch base at least every other week or so, and just to make sure that we're doing okay. I love you, man. You already know that. I appreciate you doing this. I'm sure we'll talk again.
Yeah, man. Love it. Love you. And praying for you, praying for everybody who's listening, praying for everyone that somehow, some way we glorify God in all of this. Look for a way. There will always be a way. I pray for detractors and supporters and everyone in between. We glorify God. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for joining in today. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you'll consider sharing it with a friend. Speaking of friends, if you have any mortgage-related needs, maybe you're a first-time home buyer looking to refinance or just want to talk about future home ownership goals, reach out to Tyler Kane. He is a senior loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage. Tyler and his team, with their expertise and dedication, have helped many families achieve their home ownership goals. They can advise you on the process from start to finish. His website is included in the show notes, or you can reach him directly at 813-380-8487. And please remember, whatever you choose to do today, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, excel still more.